Hello everybody, welcome back to the Horus Heresy from the beginning. Today's video is compatible with only 2.0, the first of its kind to this channel. We'll be looking at unit types and how they work and what they can do. First thing to note is that every single unit in the Horus Heresy has a unit type, but some also have a unit subtype. Unit types are going to be more broad, while subtypes are going to allow you to play around with more specialized rules. Additionally, some unit types have more rules than others, with characters and vehicles being the most rule-intensive units in the game. We'll be looking at vehicle unit types when we go over vehicles again for their 2.0 counterpart video, so look forward to that sometime in the future. With that, let's jump right into it. I would like to very briefly mention that there are additional unit types and unit subtypes in Libers, which are the faction books. Note that I'll cover these at some point later. Beginning the list, we have infantry unit types. These are your most basic troops, such as tactical squads, mechanicum servitors, militia conscripts, and more. These will be the most common units on the table outside of Rites of War, which we'll cover in a later video. With as basic and widespread as infantry is, they get no additional rules for the infantry type alone, but will often have subtypes. However, they can only be joined by units that also have the infantry type, or the Primarch type, such as Rogel Dorn or Horus Lupercal. Moving on, we have the cavalry type. Cavalry are, as you would expect, fast-moving models mounted on various devices or beasts, be it bikes, land speeders, or beasts of chaos. Cavalry units gain several rules as follows. Cavalry can never be pinned. Cavalry models are not slowed down by difficult terrain, even when charging. However, they treat all difficult terrain as dangerous terrain. When cavalry units fall back, they will instead fall back 3d6 inches, rather than 2d6 inches. And finally, a cavalry unit can only be joined by or join a unit with the cavalry type. Next, we have automata. Automata are most common in the Mechanicum, and soon-to-be Adeptus Mechanicus. All automata have the Fearless rule, so will never suffer pinning, leadership, or the various tests requiring those types of challenges. Additionally, all poisoned and flesh-bane special rules must be re-rolled against automata. However, automata suffer from not being able to use reactions, and anything that isn't automata cannot join automata units. On to one of the more popular units, Dreadnoughts. Like automata, poison and fleshbane must be rerolled against them, and also like automata, Dreadnoughts are fearless. Additionally, when they fire weapons, they're allowed to fire everything that they have, instead of only being able to fire one weapon in their arsenal like infantry models, even when firing in a reaction. Like tanks, they can fire ordnance and heavy weapons as if they hadn't moved at all, and can charge even after shooting, no matter what type of weapon they fired. Just like the previous few unit types, they can't be joined or be joined by a unit anything other than the Dreadnought type. Now, Demons of the Ruinstorm. These monstrosities follow a strange set of rules, inflicting chaos upon all of their foes. All demon models have their strength and toughness modified depending on what game term it is. +1 on turn 1 and 2, no bonus on turn 3 and 4, -1 on turn 5 and 6, and -2 on any turn of 7 or further, rules depending. Adding to the strangeness of that rule, they have the Fear rule and are themselves immune to fear, automatically pass pinning and regroup tests, and cannot choose to fail a morale check due to our weapons are useless in combat. Whenever a demon unit fails a morale check, it doesn't fall back. Instead, it'll suffer D3 automatic wounds with no saves of any kind allowed, representing weaker, cowardly demons being dragged back to the warp. As with other unit types, demons cannot be joined or join a unit without the demon unit type. The final unit type is Primarchs, peerless warriors of the Age of Darkness. They get a plethora of rules. All Primarchs have independent character, Eternal Warrior, Fearless, It Will Not Die 5-up, Bulky 4, and Relentless. All these rules will be covered in a future cluster video. Additionally, Primarchs are not affected by special rules that negatively modify their characteristics, other than wounds, and they will always shoot snapshots at their full ballistic skill. Additionally, a Primarch's hits are also allocated by the controlling Primarch's player, not the defender. Lastly, if any army includes a Primarch, then one Primarch must be their warlord. Thus ends the unit types and begins the unit subtypes. There are 6 such core subtypes, which can be applied to any unit. These subtypes are line, anti-grav, artillery, monstrous, heavy, and light. Characters are also considered a subtype, though are granted its own section in the rulebook and its own slew of rules, so we'll cover that in another video, same with vehicles. Let's jump right into it. Line is a simpler subtype, but extremely important in objective missions. They grant the unit scoring and denial, allowing the unit to actually cap an objective and have the opportunity to deny the opponent the same. This subtype doesn't grant anything else, but is so critically important in most missions played. Next, we have anti-grav. These mobile units are granted more freedom of movement than others, being able to ignore the effects of all terrain it moves through, including vertical and impassable terrain, though it can never stop on impassable terrain, and must still take dangerous terrain tests if a unit with this subtype stops or starts on it. The drawback to such mobility, however, is that units with this subtype never gain the benefits of cover, so use your speed and agility to your advantage with these units. Artillery subtypes are smaller cannons drawn by infantry, such as rapier batteries. Whenever a unit with the subtype no longer has models without the artillery subtype, it is immediately removed, representing artillery without crew to utilize it. Artillery may not run, charge, or make reactions. It can never hold or deny objectives. A unit with this subtype also may not make sweeping advances, and automatically fails checks against sweeping advances, and are immediately destroyed. Be careful how you place your artillery. Next is the monstrous subtype, bigger, hulking creatures capable of wanton destruction. They can never be pinned, can fire all weapons they are equipped with, even as a reaction, and can fire ordnance and heavy weapons normally, even if it moved, and even beyond that, can charge regardless of what weapons were shot. Monstrous units are the only subtype that cannot be joined by models that don't also have the same subtype. The heavy subtype is next, the toughest, though slowest on the battlefield outside of vehicles. A unit with this subtype can re-roll their failed armor saves against template and blast weapons. This comes at the price of not being able to run, and whenever they take a reaction that calls for movement based on initiative, subtract 1 from the distance. The last subtype that we'll look at today is light. These units rely on speed, as they get +1 initiative when determining how fast they run. Note that running in 2.0 relies on initiative, and then stacks with other bonuses, such as fleet, and this bonus also applies to reactions. Thank you for coming, everyone. Just as a notice for everyone, I mentioned a cluster video when I was talking about Primarchs. These are when the same category of rules are so numerous that talking about them will be overly extensive. All the keyword abilities beg to be talked about in detail, so I'm going to split them up into a handful of cluster videos. And also, I would like to thank everyone that watches my videos for absolutely blowing my previous video out of the water. I really don't know where everyone comes from, but I'm grateful for all of you. You all make my day that much brighter. Going forward, we'll be looking at independent characters and finally getting to doing videos and their 2.0 counterparts. One day. I'll get to it, I swear. I swear.